Good afternoon, Mr. Nduna.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I have one question for you. We have information compiled by the JSC suggesting that there's been a number of complaints over the years of different forms against you, but I'm going to zero in on one. This information is alluding to a 2018 letter of complaint written by the lawyers of CBZ Bank, and it was to the effect that the letter was to the effect that you had taken a loan, an overdraft of over $30,000, but that you were refusing to pay it back. That summons were issued. You raised the defense of prescription. What then happened thereafter? Is it true that you did not pay back the loan of $30,000 US that you took from the bank?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. Indeed, it is true that I entered into a contract with CBZ. It was a farming contract where they advanced the said $30,000 as part of their performance under that contract, and that money was not eventually paid back, and it was not paid back. Yes, ma'am. And their letter of complaints, unfortunately, did not put clearly what led to that position. If I may be allowed to elaborate, ma'am.
Sorry, what position are you talking about?
The non-payment of the particular loan. What led to that? And
the summons was it true?
Yes, I stand.
You took a loan, you failed to pay it back. That's what we want to hear from you.
I took a loan, ma'am. True is true, and the loan was not paid back.
Yes, and then when they eventually tried to sue you, you raised the plea of or defense of prescription. So our concern, or my concern, is that you took a loan that you failed to pay back. Is that conduct that one would expect from an aspiring judge of the High Court? Failing to honor agreements, or an agreement that they freely entered into, and then hiding behind the law, blaming the lender for not having taken you to task earlier to recover their money.
What led me to the non-payment of that loan were the circumstances which were created by the bank itself, which of course they then delayed to make their claim. And the
issue is not them making the claim, Mr. Nduna. The issue is, why did you not pay back?
Thank you, ma'am.
You don't. When you enter into an agreement, it doesn't say you will not pay until they make a claim. It says you undertake to pay back.
Thank you, ma'am. Like I have said, that this was a contractual agreement where CBZ was supposed to perform in order to place me in a position to pay. Like that particular contract was a farming agreement whereby CBZ was supposed to fund the farming, providing all the inputs which could lead me to produce enough produce from which then the loan was going to be payable. But unfortunately, what CBZ then did was that they failed, among other things, to provide me with nitrogen fertilizer, which was, in my view, a material breach of the contract, which then disabled me from producing that which was enough to pay the contract. And I had engaged the bank before the time to pay the contract was materialized, bringing to their attention this fundamental breach to that contract and explaining that in the absence of their performance, it was going to be impossible for me to repay them, because in farming where nitrogen fertilizer is not applied, you literally get nothing.
I don't think the Commission wants to hear all those details.
Thank you.
The bottom line is that there was a loan that you took that you failed to pay for whatever reason, in circumstances where you could have taken some type of action if they were breaching the contract. Instead, it seems like you waited for them to claim the money back from you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I do not have anything new, but I just want to follow up on the issue of the CBZ loan. To be honest, I'm very shocked that a judicial officer would use a technicality to evade payment of a debt. If it is proven to be true, I don't think that should make you suitable to be considered to the office that you are aspiring. In addition, you are also accused of using inflammatory language to a witness. Are you aware of the incident involving a senior government official and the subsequent complaint that you used inflammatory language? Something again that I believe is not befitting of the office of a judge. Now, having made those observations, my question to you, Mr. Nduna, is do you think a judicial officer should in any way be associated with such conduct?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I would acknowledge that there was a complaint which was raised when the senior civil servant appeared before me as a witness. He was of the view that inflammatory language had been used, and a letter was delivered to the Judicial Service Commission, which eventually got to me. And whilst I agree that those sentiments had been used, the environment in which those sentiments were uttered, so to speak, were that it was a situation where I thought I was trying to administer the case in a manner which would have achieved justice in the manner which was appearing before me, where the senior civil servant was testifying. So it was unfortunate and regretted that it turned out to be so, and I would rest on the history of my management of cases that such a complaint had not at all cropped up. Not that people did not complain, but the manner in which my communication with that witness was perceived never arisen during the course of my work as a judicial officer.
Lastly, on section 4 of the general forms that you were filling, on section 4 of the general form, you just indicated that it's not applicable, where the question was, are there any circumstances, financial, political, social, or otherwise known to you which may cause you embarrassment in undertaking the office of High Court Judge? Don't you think you should have written something along those lines rather than saying non-applicable? Does that demonstrate integrity on your part as an aspiring judge, Mr. Nduna?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. On hindsight, I feel I should have adverted to that, But when I was compiling that form, to be honest, it did not cross my mind that it is intended to extend that far, and I admit I may have ignored a salient point, not out of dishonest, but not appreciating, as it were, that I should have disclosed that.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and good afternoon, Mr. Nduna.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have one question for you, but before I do so, and for the comfort of my mind, I need to revisit the CBZ issue. What I wanted clarified is the Commission to understand that this matter was resolved on the basis of the success of your plea of prescription, that there was no further inquiry, so the matter was resolved on the basis of prescription. I know that we have explained that there were all these other issues and so forth, but for our purposes, are we to understand that this matter was resolved on the basis of you raising that plea and it was successful?
Thank you, Commissioner. The plea of prescription was raised as a special plea. We had also pleaded over raising the issues which I have adverted to over the non-performance of the obligation by the other party in the contract. So after we had submitted that, the bank did not take its matter further, but then dealt with it through the complaint procedure with the employer, the Judicial Service Commission.
I see. Thank you very much. So, in other words, the matter died at that stage?
I would confirm that since I received no further communication from the bank.
Mr. Nduna, I mentioned, if you recall, I mentioned that there were other complaints against you. We have a letter, a copy of a letter here, which dates back to 2010, when you were a magistrate in Chinhoe. You recall the matter concerning Patrick John Stokes, a farmer who is said to have resisted eviction from the farm to allow those that had been allocated the farm to move onto the farm. And the allegation is that they sought to have him prosecuted, but the matter failed to take off on 9 different occasions, with the effect that the farmer continued to reside at the farm. And the allegation then that is raised, or that was raised in the letter, was that you yourself were actually residing at a property owned by that same farmer. And I think the suggestion is here that you might have had something to do with the failure of the case against the farmer to take off. What would be your comments?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Chief Justice, for giving me this opportunity to address that complaint. I recall that complaint very well, and I confirm that it was received. But however, at Chinhoe during that time, I was the second most senior magistrate at the station after the provincial head, who was seized with administration. So basically all land cases which were very involving at that time were being placed before me at the station. So when that letter was written, it came as a shock to everyone, including myself, because I was staying in Karoi, commuting to Chinhoe every day, despite myself being allowed institutional accommodation. And I remember that farm was, I think after Banget, going in the opposite direction to my home. At no stage did I ever spend a night in Bangkok or a day in Bangkok other than having gone to Bangkok on circuit court. So clearly our understanding of that complaint was that it was unnecessarily malicious. It was meant to oust me from holding that particular trial, as I had generated a reputation for myself to effectively deal with those cases which were very involving during that time and were littered with a number of applications which could facilitate postponements. But to then say it was postponed for 9 times, I cannot affirm nor deny that, since it is a very long time. But the bottom line is that that allegation was extremely malicious of me and was made, in my view, and a view which was shared by everybody on the ground, in bad faith. Thank you, Madam.
So the complaint having been addressed to the Chief Magistrate and to the AG's office, would you remember what then happened? Did these agencies respond? Did they investigate? What happened? Because all we have is a copy of that letter which is making these allegations against you.
Yeah, that letter, ma'am, thank you very much. It was brought to my attention. I submitted a report, and the provincial head also submitted his report accompanied by other investigations which he conducted. Unfortunately, I was not favored with a copy of that report, neither did I receive a communication from the Chief Magistrate's office at the conclusion reached by that letter. So I took it myself that it had been established that the letter was not made on factual basis.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
This issue of what really amounts to unjust enrichment against the bank in your favor, didn't you consider it as that it would have an effect of causing disrepute, bring disrepute to the judiciary?
Thank you, Chief Justice. My view, sir, is that in the contract which we had agreed, it would appear as if I got unjust enrichment, but I had also plowed quite a substantial input into the venture on my own side that I also ended up coming out even poorer myself. It was a question of the two parties, the other party having failed to perform, but indeed being embroiled in such disputes as a judicial officer, probably I should have done better, but I was put in a situation where I could not perform in order to defray the loan, because it was intended to be defrayed from the farming inputs, as my salary would have been no way to reach that mark.